Okay, so picture this. It's, I don't know, 10:30 at night. The day it's done.
Finally.
You're on the couch, the house is quiet, and the only light is just that blue glow from your phone.
Yeah.
You're scrolling, but you're not really seeing anything. You're just kind of vibrating.
It's that restless hum, right? That background noise in your mind.
Exactly. It's not sadness, not really, and it's not quite anger either. It's this really unsettling feeling of being tossed around.
Drag.
Yes, dragged. And the source material we're diving into today, it just nails this feeling. It even describes the physical side of it.
Oh, yeah. The racing heart, the tense shoulders.
The tight jaw, the mind that just will not shut down. But here's the part that drives me crazy, the paradox of it all.
Nothing actually happened.
Nothing catastrophic happened that day.
Right. No one hit you. You weren't robbed. Your house is still standing. By all objective measures, you're fine.
So why does it feel like we just got through a war zone? My usual excuse, is just to brush it off.
What's your go-to script?
Oh, it was just a busy day, or people are just so sensitive these days, that kind of thing.
We all have those. They're like little defense mechanisms. But the source we're looking at today, this whole idea of reclaiming the inner citadel, it forces a much harder truth on us.
Which is what?
That the problem isn't that the world is too loud or too demanding. The problem is that we've lost control of our own reactions.
That's a tough pill to swallow right out of the gate. So the call is coming from inside the house.
It is. And the core argument is that when we lose that control, we start living in that state of being dragged.
Dragged by what, specifically?
By a stray comment from a coworker. Dragged by a sudden spike of anxiety, by the desperate need to be seen or liked. The Stoics had a really specific kind of cold term for this. They didn't call it stress.
What'd they call it?
Dependency.
Okay, and we should probably clarify for everyone listening, when we hear dependency, we're thinking addiction, maybe money. That's not what this means here.
No, not at all. It's dependency on things you absolutely cannot control. Other people's opinions. The algorithm. Your partner's mood. The text is pretty brutal about it.
Why so?
It says, if those things control your inner state, you are not free. You are, quite simply, living in dependency.
So that's our mission for this deep dive then, to figure out how this trap works. How do we stop being dragged? How do we get from what the text calls emotional slavery to inner autonomy?
And how do we build that inner citadel? A place inside where you can actually stand your ground.
Okay, so let's start at the root of it, because the source makes a point that I found really counterintuitive. We think we need to get back to our natural state of calm, like we were born peaceful and the world messed us up.
Right. The Garden of Eden myth for our own minds.
Yeah, but the text says, no, you were never born with inner autonomy.
It's a skill. It's not a factory setting. I mean, think about a baby. A baby has zero ability to separate its feelings from its environment.
Sure, if the room is loud, the baby is stressed.
Exactly. We are taught to react. We are literally wired for it from day one.
We learn the script so early. If I smile, mom smiles, I'm safe. If I break something, dad yells, I'm bad.
Yes, we learn to connect our sense of self-worth to whatever feedback we get. Happy when praised, ashamed when criticized. And the source really hammers this home. It's not just culture, it's biology.
The old tribal survival mechanism.
It's everything. For our ancestors, being isolated wasn't just lonely, it was a death sentence.
If the tribe kicked you out, you were done.
You were done, you'd starve or get eaten. So our brains evolved to treat every social signal, a weird look, a whisper, as life or death information. It triggers the same stress hormones as seeing a predator.
So when I get a passive-aggressive email and my stomach just drops, that's my caveman brain thinking I'm about to be exiled.
That is your biology, hijacking your psychology.
Yeah.
But here's the modern trap. The source draws this really stark contrast.
Between then and now.
Yeah. Your old tribe was maybe 100 people. You knew who they were. You knew where you stood. The feedback was contained.
And today, my tribe is potentially thousands of strangers on the internet.
Thousands of invisible eyes. And we're constantly being judged by what the text calls the metrics.
Likes, views, comments?
Or maybe what's even more painful, the silence. When you post something and get nothing back.
That silence is so heavy, it feels like you shouted into a crowded room and everyone just ignored you.
And it triggers that ancient fear. The text points out how a single negative comment from a total stranger can ruin your whole evening. Just think about how absurd that is.
You've handed them the keys to your well-being.
That's the dependency in action. We're outsourcing our stability. And it leads to this dangerous confusion. We start to think our emotions come from the world.
Like he made me angry, or that news story made me depressed.
Exactly. But the Stoics and this source, they remind us of a fundamental truth. The emotions don't come from the world. They come from how we interpret the world.
But unlearning that feels almost impossible. We're not just fighting our biology, we're fighting a lifetime of training. The source calls them invisible structures.
Yes. Think of it as the hidden curriculum of your life. From the second you enter school, what are you taught?
To react correctly.
Get an A, you're good. Get an F, you're a failure. You're not taught to value your own effort, you're taught to value the grade, the external stamp.
I remember that anxiety on report card day was never about what I learned, it was all about the measurement.
And then you leave school and you think you're free, but really the principal just got replaced by the market.
The market is a much tougher boss.
Oh, way tougher. The market says, not rich, you didn't work hard enough. Culture says, not viral, you don't matter. Technology says, if you can't measure it, did it even happen? We're just constantly trained to look outside ourselves for proof that we're okay.
There's a line in the source that really hit me. It said something like, we stop comparing our lives to other people's lives and start comparing our inner feelings to their external images.
Which is an unwinnable game. It's a formula for pure misery. You're comparing your own messy, anxious, 3 a.m. panic interior with someone else's curated, filtered highlight reel.
You can't ever measure up to an illusion.
And because we feel like we can't measure up, we start making these little deals, compromises.
The source calls them concessions.
Right. We start saying yes when we mean no because we're afraid of friction. We stay quiet to keep the peace. Or we get angry just to protect our ego.
And the text calls this emotional slavery. That's a heavy term.
It's meant to be. It describes this loop where you're not acting, you're just being acted upon. You stop living your life and you start just surviving your reactions. You become a raw nerve in the wind.
Okay, so we've laid out the problem. We're wired for validation and trained for dependency. It sounds pretty bleak.
It does.
So let's pivot to the solution. Because when most people hear Stoicism, they picture, I don't know, a statue, someone who feels nothing.
The stone statue fallacy. Yeah, it's the most common misunderstanding.
Right. Just repressing everything. I'm fine, while your eye is twitching.
That's the absolute biggest misconception. And the source does a great job of clearing it up. The Stoics, we're talking Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, they weren't robots. They felt grief, they felt anger. They weren't denying emotion.
So what were they doing?
They were building a border wall.
A border wall between what and what?
Between what happens and what we decide to do with it inside.
Okay, walk me through an example from the text. How does that actually play out?
All right, let's take failure. A project you were in charge of completely bombs.
Okay.
That's the event. It's a fact. But the thought, I am a failure or I'm incompetent, that is a judgment. That's a story you wrote and attached to the event.
So the event is the project failed. The judgment is I'm a failure.
Precisely. The event itself is neutral. The judgment is what creates the suffering. And freedom, the inner citadel, is in seeing that difference. In that space between them. The source calls it the gap.
A gap. I've heard this before.
Right. Between stimulus and response, there is a space, a gap. And in that gap is our power to choose.
But for most of us, that gap is basically non-existent. It's stimulus, instant reaction.
Like touching a hot stove. It's automatic.
Correct.
But if you can widen that gap, just for a second, you can choose your attitude. You can see the failed project and think, okay, that didn't work. What did I learn? Instead of, I am worthless. The event is the same, but the experience is totally different.
The theory makes perfect sense, but I want to push back a little on the application. Because this sounds great right now, but in the real world, if I just stop caring what people think, don't I risk becoming, a jerk or a hermit? Do I just need to move to a cabin to protect this so-called citadel?
You'd think so, right? Just withdraw, quit the game. But the source makes this really important historical point. The famous Stoics, they were the opposite of hermits. They were deeply, painfully stuck in the system.
Right, Marcus Aurelius wasn't meditating in a cave, he was the emperor of Rome.
I mean, you cannot get more in the system than that. He had wars, plagues, political backstabbing. Seneca was an advisor in Nero's court talk about a toxic workplace, and Epictetus was a slave.
So they were all right in the thick of it.
They couldn't run, and they argued that you shouldn't. They saw the world was unfair and stressful. But they refused to let those external things define their inner value.
So they played the game, but they didn't let the game's score define their soul.
That is a perfect way to put it. They asked themselves a really hard question. one the text poses to us. In a system I can't control, what is the one thing I can't control, which, if I lose it, means I'm no longer myself?
And that leads us to the actual strategy, the thing we can use on a chaotic Tuesday morning, the dichotomy of control.
This is the tool. If you take one thing from this deep dive, this is it. The source says we suffer from an illusion of sovereignty.
Meaning we think we're in charge of everything.
We think we control the outcomes, whether we get the promotion, whether our partner is in a good mood, whether traffic is light.
But we don't.
Not at all. And trying to is what breaks us. So the strategy is to cut the link. Sever the connection between your self-worth and the external result.
Okay, let's get practical. The source has a great work example. I think that's where a lot of us feel this drag.
Sure. You work your tail off on a presentation, you do all the research, build the slides, practice it, you deliver it, and you get crickets.
Or vague criticism, or they're just on their phones the whole time.
And the immediate reaction is panic. Yeah, they hated it. They hate me. I'm getting fired.
You spiral.
You spiral. The Stoic approach isn't to pretend you don't care. That's apathy. The Stoic approach is to ask one question. Did I do my part correctly?
Did I put in the effort with integrity?
Yes. And if the answer is yes, then the outcome, the lack of applause, the criticism, it's irrelevant to your self-worth. You don't need their validation to know you did the work. Your success is defined by your input, not their output.
That is incredibly freeing, but it's also really hard. You have to let go of that gold star mentality we all learned.
You do. You have to learn to grade your own paper, which can be terrifying.
What about in relationships? That example felt even trickier. It's one thing to be stoic about a PowerPoint, another to be stoic with a spouse.
It is trickier. Let's say you try to communicate something important. You're respectful, you're vulnerable, but they misunderstand you, or they ignore you, or they twist your words.
And you feel rejected.
Yeah.
Small. And you either want to beg for them to understand or just lash out.
The Stoic accepts the sadness of it. It hurts to be misunderstood. They don't deny that. But, and this is the key, they refuse to let that misunderstanding mean they are not enough.
Because you can't control how another person hears you.
You can't. You can only control how you delivered the message.
The source uses this great image to describe the result of this mindset. It says it gives you a straight back.
Yeah, I love that. It implies dignity. It doesn't promise happiness, not in that cheerful, fluffy way,
Yeah.
but it gives you a straight back. It allows you to suffer without losing your direction. You stop betraying yourself just to keep the peace.
Which brings us to the conclusion of the source text, which I found really powerful. We're so obsessed with happiness as a goal.
The ultimate goal.
But the text says, Stoicism doesn't promise happiness, it promises something else.
Clear.
And why is clarity better?
Clarity is durable. Happiness is fleeting. It depends on things going your way. Clarity works even when things are a total mess. It's knowing a failure is just a failure, not a death sentence. Knowing an insult is just a sound, not a truth about who you are.
But the source is honest about the trade-off. There's a cost.
There's a cost. If you stop playing the validation game, you might be a little lonelier. You won't get that quick dopamine hit from everyone agreeing with you. You become a little less permeable.
But the reward is you stop betraying yourself.
Exactly. You reclaim your own lives. You build that inner citadel where you are safe, no matter what the weather is doing outside.
Before we wrap this up, I want to leave everyone with the final thought from the source. It's a question that honestly has been sitting with me since I first read it.
It's the ultimate test, isn't it?
It is. The source asks, if tomorrow all external reactions disappeared, no compliments, no recognition, no likes, no confirming glances, just total neutrality from the world, what would you have left inside to lean on?
What would you have left? It's the question that tells you how much of your house is built on rock and how much is built on sand.